Well, we all view life in different ways. You know, everybody has their own opinion, perspective of how life should be, and how, of course, you could also even tailor your own life, your character, and you know, every other thing that concerns yourself. But then, you know, how do you avoid getting into troubles or getting into some things that might make you slip up? And then it becomes a problem with your relationship with people, relationship with families, and the rest. Well, we do have a book that sought to, you know, advise or give you direction, instructions on how to look at life in a different perspective, so to speak. Authored by Ikemba Johnson. It's called Purple Bananas. Yes, an idiot, I will say it, an idiot-proof approach to common sense living. Yes, one of the things I will ask Ikemba Johnson, who is here with us this morning, the author, is how come it's an idiot-proof approach to common sense living? But welcome. Thank you for joining us on the book review this morning.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and of course, very interesting look. Yeah, it kept me awake most of the night because even when I was a little sleepy, but there are some chapters you just look and just laugh. And yes, I agree with you. It sparks curiosity, so to speak. But why did you have to call it an idiot-proof approach to common sense living?
Because we often go through, you know, situations in life that when we stop and look back, we say, "Oh, I could have done better there." So, but we try to be lenient with ourselves most of the time, rather than call it what it is.
True.
You know, so. That is why I called it. So it's basically a book that helps you to not fall into the, you know, into the category of being an idiot, you know. So it proves you from, you know, like we say fireproof, like we say waterproof.
Exactly.
So, so it's sort of like a glove, you know, that proves you from falling into.
Yes, I mean, decrease your propensity of falling into an idiotic situation.
Exactly.
And that's one of the things I like about the book. Well, why call it purple bananas? You know, yes, it's sparked curiosity, but then purple bananas. How did you come up with such a
well, to be fair, I got the title in a dream.
Wow.
You know, yeah, I woke up with the title in my, you know, like, you know, when you're sleeping and somebody taps you and wakes you up. So I woke up with that, you know, with that name, Purple Bananas. And when I woke up, I looked at, you know, my brother and I said, did you say something? And he said no. And in that period, I'd written most of the book and I was just looking for the title. You know, and then I started to really think about it. And then when I went through everything I'd written so far, and I realized, oh wow, it helps you really look at life in another, you know, take a second look at life. And so that's how I just basically said, this is the title. I mean, it has to be divine.
And it is totally apt if you look at it, say, purple bananas. I mean, you see a purple banana somewhere, of course, your curiosity will be triggered. You want to exactly know what the fruit look like and everything. But it's about 22 chapters, of course, and you know, there's some very interesting, you know, 21 actually chapters. But very interesting chapters, I must say. You know, we won't be able to cover everything, of course, because of time and because we want you to out there to go and get the book and fist in it. But there's some particular parts of chapters that really caught my interest. You know, I look at, I feel that relationships is the most important part of it because relationship molds your life. You look at family, you look at friends, you look at colleagues and the rest. Relationship really, you know, molds how you go in life and how you progress in life. So, from your own take of it, you know, I mean, how would you break down relationships? How would you look at relationships? How should somebody, you know, build a relationship with other people without becoming an idiot? Let me put it that way.
All right. First things first, I'd like to define relationship. One of the and I find that I find it interesting that you like that chapter because one of the things that really caught me was or that I learned because as I was writing the book I was learning it wasn't just you know, me just voicing out my opinions. So I find that relationships are the tick that make life. I mean, they're the clogs that make life tick. And every time I say that, people often don't get it because they don't know what is clogs, what is tick, you know. And I realized that when you open your wristwatch, you know, those analog wristwatches or your wall clock, you see clogs at the back.
At
In
the
the engines
back,
are
yeah,
usually
of
made of
course.
clogs, so they are basically devices that are joined to one another, and
True.
by virtue of rotation, they are setting each other in motion.
Yeah.
And that motion, it results to what makes us able to tell the time. So basically, that's how life functions, and that's how I see relationships. The relationship between those clogs. So the way that to answer your question, one of the ways to not fall into the cadre of idiocy when you are in your relationships, in whatever relationships, is to define them. Define what relationships are. Because of our lack of definitions of the kind of different relationships, we tend to overstep boundaries. We tend to, abuse privileges. We tend to just
Sometimes subconsciously we don't.
yeah,
we don't do it intentionally.
exactly. So we just tend to mess a lot of things up, and that is when you actually define your relationships. It helps you.
You also mentioned you categorize some people there.
Yeah.
Some are called floaters,
Yeah.
sinkers,
Yeah.
and this is the kind of people should avoid
Yeah.
in a relationship.
Yeah.
Although, because I disagree with you a bit on that, because there's some of those sinkers and floaters. There's some people who, you just want to live with them and tolerate them because they bring in something to the table. But from your book, are you saying you totally avoid them, or there's a way that you can manage your relationship with people who are floaters and who are sinkers?
No. What I'm saying basically is that we, then again, by virtue of definition, you then again understand how much of your resources, in terms of your time, in terms of your emotional investment into the relationship, that you are able to give to those sets of people. Otherwise, you'd end up hanging to an anvil, or you end up, and they keep dragging you along, sort of you to move forward. So at the end of the day, the people that you want to be in a relationship with are people that actually move you, which I call propellers in the book. So there are people that move you, that call you out on your on your idiocy, that calls that call you out on your foolishness, that challenge you to be better ultimately, because I believe that we are only as happy as we are improving per time. So if you have the people that are making you improve, you should hang around with those kind of people more.
Yeah. And of course, your very first chapter talks about contentment. That's another angle. That's one factor that could I call it attribute, or that people find it very difficult trying to, because most times a lot of us are not contented with what we have. We look at okay, I have this. Someone else has something better than us. I must reach up to that level, and because of that, we might get into trouble. We might even do things, do some illegitimate things, or in criminal activities, So, but your own take on contentment is like, because the way you wrote it or the way you described it, it seems so easy. Is that easy to just be contented with yourself and say, this is myself, this is what I have, and I want to be happy with what I have?
Yeah, and I think that the reason why a lot of people struggle with contentment is because they lack a fundamental understanding of contentment. In its basic form, contentment is just being okay with yourself part time, you're not looking at your whole life and saying, because sometimes we look at our whole life, we judge ourselves or judge our lives in the moment, whereas we have our whole lives to live. So we judge our whole lives, we don't know what tomorrow will bring. And we put it side by side, and that's where comparison comes in, and we begin to use other people as a yardstick to judge ourselves, instead of to focus on your own, on your own journey. It's
not easy,
on your own
race.
Of course, it's not easy. It comes with honesty. It comes with honesty. It comes with a bit of vulnerability, and I also talked about vulnerability in the book, which is one of my favorite chapters, because when you are true to yourself, really, it becomes easier to become vulnerable. When you are not, it becomes easier to become contented. When you're not contented, it becomes easier to become contentious. It becomes easier to become contentious.
Well, another thing that I love about this book is about your talk about laughter. It's quite important. I don't know how we'll talk about laughter. From your own perspective, what do you mean by when you say laughter? How does laughter helps in building your relationship or making yourself a better person? Laughter. So for me, laughter is a detoxifier, really, because especially as a Nigerian, you want to add that to your daily diet. And it's quite important if you look at what's going on in the country.
Because the average Nigerian is traumatized, every day of our lives. So you want to add laughter to your daily diet. It helps you detoxify. It helps you to diffuse tense, piled up tension. You know, and it's always it's very easy. It doesn't mean that laughing doesn't mean that all is well. You know, it's when you begin to see it as a medicine, then you understand how to appropriate it. You know that, man, there's some things I just need to laugh off and just there are some issues that I can quickly diffuse by virtue of laughter. You know,
I wish I could do more of that. I say, you know. But how many years did it take you to get this together, this book?
Well, I would say my whole life up to the point I wrote it, because basically it
does. You write as it comes. Is that how? What's it?
No. Well, primarily I started writing from 2018. It started as a series of short posts on social media, and then so the feedback I got was quite exciting. You know, people said, "Oh, we came, but this is nice. It blessed me." So when I put it out, the feedback I got was encouraging, and people said, and I asked, should I put it in a small PDF, everything I've written, and the people said yes, and I did that, and I gave it out to them, and some people came back, some role models I look up to came back and said, Ikemba, this is an amazing job. You need to expound on some of these topics, you know. And then, so I started officially writing and said, okay, I'm going to write a book, you know. And
you got a fantastic review from a lot of very notable people in the,
Thank you.
you know, both pastors, singers, and the rest. And you'll get to one from me, because really, it's a really very interesting one to read. I wish we had more time to go over it, but it's 21 chapters. It's called Purple Bananas,
an
idiotic-proof approach to common sense living. And just to tell you that Ikemba Johnson, apart from being an author, he's also a life coach. Let's put it that way, and a brand strategist as well. So where do people get this book once they're interested in it?
Okay, well, it's you can get it. You can order for it online. Yes.
Through with online platform.
Yeah, it's on BAM Books, it's on Kobo Books. You know, it's on all the booking platforms, Amazon. And you can also order it from the book site itself, which is bit.ly/Purple Bananas Books.
All right. And your social media handle?
Ikemba Johnson on all social media.
You heard it from Ikemba Johnson, the author of the book Purple Bananas. Again, it's an idiotic-proof approach to common sense living. Yes, let's reduce our idiocy in life and become have that common sense and how to deal with people and make your life better. Thank you very much for joining us on the book.
Thank you very much.
Well.